Hello, everyone. So I wanted to just do a little live stream tonight, just to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while. Um, about ideas of common sense and of morality that I think, um, with a lot of us still are, are things that we, are that are a part of our lives that we consult whenever we think about doing something as agents, as moral agents. So I'm kind of two I guess independent media people on YouTube I watch are the Young Turks and Philip DeFranco. And I guess the Young Turks, the whole thing with them is that there's sort of a discrimination scandal going on right now that is coming out right now. That is kind of a little bit difficult for me to handle. It has to do with I'll kind of just discuss that first. It has to do with the I think he's like the lead guy. He's the lead guy. I think he's not. I don't think he's the owner, but he's the guy who does a lot of the main shows. He does the shows. He does a lot of the main videos on that channel, and um, in that they call themselves a progressive news source, um, which is kind of a thing that has to do with, um, I guess, it's kind of difficult to think about that because, especially with this new scandal coming out, um, it has to do with not being necessarily left or right, um, but being more about people, being more about what's right, and being more about the future, rather than worrying about things like money and more worrying about people. So that's kind of where it's kind of a little bit about where what I've kind of understood that to be. Um, but that with this new scandal, the whole thing is that they hired an African American employee, and he didn't. Apparently, um, he wasn't doing the job that he was going to be doing. He wasn't doing a lot of certain things. Uh, Philip DeFranco did one of his shows that included that story in it. So he kind of explains it better. But this person was basically discriminated against, where some of the white re, where some of the white journalists were getting more head than he was, while he was basically getting nothing. Um, Kind of has to do with that. He left. Now he's suing them. And the main guy, his name is Cenk Uygur, um, which I really liked before this. Um, but there's kind of there's all of that going on. But basically, when I do some of these streams is I see something, see a few things on Philip DeFranco um, or the Young Turks, or I'll see something, see some news site on, other news out, outlets, and basically I'll kind of draw that out and think about things brought in a broader way, I guess. Think about things in a more of a, I guess, sometimes more philosophical, sometimes not way. But on Philip DeFranco, a show he posted today, had to do with this YouTuber who does pranks, where they're not really pranks. He will randomly throw water in people's faces. He did like a bomb scare prank, and he did all this horrible shit, which is basically being a total dick, um, doing all these things where he considered pranks. And there was this, apparently there was a thing where he acted like it was acid, and he was apparently threw it on somebody, even though it wasn't. But that's still a horrible thing to do. And apparently they took a video down of his. YouTube took down a video of his, which was taken down for harassment and abuse. And now he's like coming out against that. He's kind of like he's kind of saying that people are slandering him when they're just calling him out for being an asshole. And I don't know. And another thing I want to think about is all the Tide Pod shit, where you basically take a Tide Pod, which is something that you put in your laundry to clean it. Of course, they take that and they eat it. There's lots of there's a lot of shit like that going on. The whole Jake Paul thing is horrible. There's just a lot of shit that's been happening this year so far and last year in preceding years that are kind of leading me to think that I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Idiocracy. It's a movie with Luke Wilson and Maya Rudolph. It's a very, very good movie, but it's basically where I think they weren't frozen, but the Maya Rudolph character and the Luke Wilson character were basically put to sleep, and they were basically brought into a time far in the future where everyone was just stupid. It's a great movie. I think we should probably definitely watch it. It is a comedy movie for sure. It's for sure what it is, but it makes you think about some stuff, and I want to do a philosophical movie review about that. But that's kind of interesting to think about, because in that case, like everyone is just there. The overall intelligence of society is greatly decreased. Their ability to speak eloquently and be intelligent in general is basically non-existent. Um, I mean, it's just we're kind of coming to a place where common sense is really decreasing. Where I mean, and this is kind of something that has been, I'm not saying that the things are just getting bad now. It's been getting bad for years, ever since before I was born, but it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Especially this year, things have gotten worse, and things will get worse in terms of people having general common sense and common decency and morality. And the whole idea of people having a general skeletal idea of morality and a general common sense is greatly decreased. And I say a skeletal kind of morality because they have a morality that's like and there's a term called common sense morality, which was by, I can't remember his name, but he was a deontologist. He was a ethical philosopher, and I can't remember his name. But the life of me, I can't remember his name. He was a British philosopher, and he kind of favored a deontology type theory of ethics. And I did videos on it like in 2011, 2012. Now I don't really I don't really think about deontology in terms of ethics anymore. I think more about like virtue ethics, because I think that's kind of the better way to think about ethics in more of in sort of a philosophical way, and to think about how one becomes a general good, decent, moral human being. I think it is in terms of virtues in basically the Aristotelian sense, and with some certain I guess what's the word amendments to that to kind of expand that a little. But I feel like that in terms of this idea of common sense morality, which I did discuss a while back, is kind of this idea that you have a general skeletal morality, because everybody has their own view of what is right and what is good. Everyone has differing views on what things are right and what things are good, and what's bad and what's wrong. As in what you're doing and what you're being as a person. Virtue ethics is more about who you are, about character a little bit more. more than what you do. But common sense morality, in terms of this British philosopher that I cannot for the life of me remember his name because I haven't studied him in years. But this idea of common sense morality is again this sort of this in this in this philosopher's way. It wasn't very skeletal because it was more deontological. It was, and again, deontological ethics is where there's objective code of morality that you abide to all the time, and that is what makes you a good moral human being. That's kind of the basic idea of what deontology in ethics is. And Kant was sort of a deontological ethicist, or a philosopher. He was sort of there, but not really, because he had his own sort of thing that kind of brought him away from, people like, again, I can't remember this British philosopher's name, but they kind of set him aside, set Kant aside from that with his categorical imperative and such. And I do want to discuss that a little. But common sense morality. There are, again, people's thoughts differ on what's good and what's right, but there is, in most people who are good and who are morally good and right, there is a general set of things, a general common set of things that you all abide by if you're a good person and you have common sense morality. And again, this British philosopher talked about a few things, one of them being beneficence. There's a good few others that he kind of brought into the whole, a good few characteristics that you have if you're a good moral person according to certain objective moral things, a certain objective moral code. But this common sense morality, the thing that we all, again, we all have our things that we disagree on, but there's something that if everyone who is good and right agrees on, like not killing people, being good to others around you, not stealing, not lying, stuff like that. And again, like, lying is kind of different though, because some people think that it is okay sometimes to lie, because in terms of being good to them, because and I brought this example up, and it kind of comes from the movie Liar Liar. If you see somebody who has a new hairstyle, which is obviously horrible and looks horrible on them, and you don't, like, let's say they got a fucking mohawk or something. Not saying mohawks are bad. Sometimes for certain people mohawks are good. Not me personally, but let's say somebody got a hairstyle that you work with that looks horrible on them. Looks horrible entirely. They look stupid. They look ignorant, and you hate the hairstyle entirely. Now, do you say that to them? Now, Kant, on the other hand, had this idea that you never should ever lie for any reason. Personally, I disagree with that. I think that there's lying that is bad and there's lying that can be good. There is a certain constraints on lying. There are certain kinds of lying, I guess, that the common person would call a white lie. That are small lies that you say to as to not hurt them or as to protect them. But sometimes there are only like a few certain things where lying is good. As in, if you see this person with this horrible hairstyle, and you don't want to hurt their feelings because you want to still be nice to them. And they say, "Hey, how do you like my new haircut?" It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be beneficent of you to say, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do that? You look stupid and you look dumb and you look ignorant. You should go back and you should change it because you look dumb and you look like an idiot." That would be, in my opinion, wrong to say. But just in general, there's some things that we all, all of us who are good people agree on that are that to be beneficent, to be honest in most cases, to not steal, to do a few certain things that we all agree on is a common sense sort of thing, a common sense morality, because we all, have it in our mind that it's commonsensical to be nice, to be a good person, to be good to everyone around you, to not steal, um, to not kill people, stuff like that. That we all agree on. And I feel like that has always existed. Virtue ethics aside, I feel like that this common sense morality has existed in all of us, and I believe that we have always had that. Most of us who are, all of us who are good people, all of us who are good, moral, ethical people, have had this, all these things that we consider good, that these certain things that make you good. That this common sense morality, I feel like, is dying a little bit because there's just people, and a lot of this is the younger generations, but there is, older people who are included in this group, people who don't give a shit about others or others around them, people who are just total assholes, people who are self-serving, people who are just entirely immoral and terrible as a person. So common sense morality, and morality in general, I think, is in a way dying. Morality is kind of going down the shitter. So it's kind of, and a lot of it is the younger generation. And there's, and not to say that there aren't, teenagers and young adults who aren't good. There are a lot of people who are young adults and teenagers who are great people, and they are moral, and they have common sense morality, and they have common sense. I'm just talking about a certain group of people who a lot of times are younger. I'm kind of moving towards 30, so I'm kind of leaving that sort of group. But I didn't I didn't think I was world famous with that. Yes, this is blue spectacles, but thank you. But it's kind of like you see asshole kids on the street who will shout obscenities and make fun of a older person or an older mentally challenged person, people who don't have a way to defend themselves. You will see, and again with this YouTube prankster who does stuff like throw water in people's faces on the street, who does fake bomb scares, who throws fake acid on people, who does all these shitty things. In that kind of shit, and also in eating Tide Pods, there's no common sense, and there's no morality. Fire in the hole. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the greatest person ever, because I'm not. I'm not the greatest person ever. Obviously, I have my vices, and I can shut people out at times who don't want to be. I thought it was pretty recent, this prank. Yeah, I think I do remember it. But like Philip DeFranco talked about that today. So that's kind of like what has led up to this video. All the Tide Pod shit this year. I saw a video where a bunch of kids were making fun of this elderly mentally challenged lady. I've just seen a lot of shit where it kind of seems like common sense common sense morality, and morality in general is kind of going down the shitter. And it's to be in the whole idea of being a good person and being intelligent and having common sense at all is no longer cool, is no longer good. And I feel like we're going to a place. I feel like the world is going in two ways. Yeah, there are. I mean, and I also saw a lady. I saw an older lady. There are no parents who discipline or guide kids. There was a black lady who did a video late last year, like Christmas of last year, who went on this huge rant. I think her name is Paula Kay. She went on this huge rant how people are dead brained, people aren't smart, and people are assholes, and she won't be in a relationship because she can't stand horrible people and people who are fucking selfish. And I'm kind of in that same boat. I don't want to be in any sort of relationship because of that. Attacks the nuclear family. I have to look at that. I have not seen that by Adorno before. I have a few books of his, but not that one. Yes, I will definitely have to, because that definitely something is. I think that the nuclear family, not all the time, but in some way that was, I think, worth being saved a little bit. I think it's good to have family values. I think it's good to I think it's good in general, because I feel like in a lot of families there's value in other people rather than just yourself. There's value in your family. There's value in being in a family like that teaches value of others in general. It teaches you to be a good person. It teaches you to have empathy, and I mean that's kind of going down the shitter. I mean, it's just, and I don't know what will save this, because I feel like it's just kind of an unsavable sort of thing. I feel like this world is going in one of two ways. It's going to be a kind of world like you see in the movie Idiocracy with Luke Wilson and Maya Rudolph, where everyone is just where the world is mostly intact, but even this kind of not, but everyone is just their overall common sense and intelligence is greatly reduced. Or we're going in a way like you see in the games Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4. And I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4, and it's great. It's a great fucking game, by the way. But it's is it on Wikipedia? I don't know. I have to. I don't know. I don't always trust Wikipedia, but I've heard it's getting better. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look that up. But I feel like this world is going in one of those two ways, where either everyone's alive and everyone's still in a intact world like this is, but everyone's just fucking stupid, and the overall intelligence and common sense is greatly reduced. Or it's going to be like where everything is blown up, everything is nuclear, there's nuclear war like crazy, and it's like when it's basically where if you play Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 4, it's going to be like you're living that. It's going to be kind of like that. But I don't know, I just feel like there's the whole idea of common sense and morality sort of intersected in a way. Yes, Spengler. Yes, thank you. Yes, and I feel like when countries sort of stock up on nuclear weapons, I feel like I don't know, on one. Yeah, I feel like on one hand it's like we should stock up on those things in order to stay safe. But on the other hand, there's there's a lot of other countries who are doing the same, which could be like if you've played Fallout 4 and you play the very very beginning part of it before everything blows up and you go in the vault, where you're just with your wife and your kid, and people are freaking out and they're telling you to go in the vault, and then just before you go in the vault, you see this big, huge explosion off in the distance, and everything's fucked. So I mean, I'm kind of in a state where I'm feeling like fuck this world. North Korea, India, Israel, Pakistan. North Korea is a big one. I don't know. It's scary just to think about it. I mean, just to think about how one of North Korea's missiles could hit us. Not all of theirs is nuclear. Yes, that's a very just being takes courage. Thank you for that. I mean, to exist takes courage. Paul Tillich said something about that, but there are a lot of existentialists, including Sartre and Camus, who have said that the will to exist, yes. And this is kind of an existential concept because this sort of thing between the world and yourself, you have a very awkward stage. Yeah, China is probably another one. Self-regard is a cult, yes. I mean, we obviously have to do so in some ways just to be alive and such. But Kant said this too. Like Kant was talking about happiness itself. If you live a life where you do things just to be happy, if you live a life where the only reason why you act morally and non-morally in whatever way, if the only reason that you choose to do anything is to make yourself happy, then you will be the entire fucking opposite. He didn't say fucking, but you will be the opposite. If you act based on trying to make yourself happy, you will be the entire opposite. It's totally, and I totally agree. I mean, you have to have some sort of prudence. You have to have some sort of yeah. China is probably another one. I mean that's for them. I think it's like they're gonna fucking own everything for sure. That's one possibility because they are kind of coming to the same, I guess, economical heights as us. They're not quite there, I don't think, but they're getting there. But I just feel like that. Oh, and another thing Philip Franco said. I mean, this is kind of unrelated, but Volkswagen doing gas experiments on humans. What the fuck? For the one that they are a German company, that's fucking ironic because of, obviously World War II. How fucking ironic is that shit? What and why? I know they said reasons why, but why? What the? Oh my god! Belgian white ale. Who makes that beer? There are a lot of Belgian white ales I know of, but which is there a company who makes it? But I mean, what the fuck? I mean, Blue Moon. Oh, I'm not a huge fan of Blue Moon, honestly. I've drank in a lot of their beers, but I kind of like they're just bigger other beers that I'd rather go out and buy. Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty good, but I mean, I really like to get like huge beers. Like I like I like high ABV stouts. I like IPAs and some of those different things. But so I don't do Blue Moon unless they come out with something new and I have to do a review of it. So I don't really do anything Blue Moon that often. But I think I did do a review of it a long time ago. I should probably revisit. A friend of mine who's from Syria, he actually came here from Syria a couple years ago. They apparently what they do is they take a lemon and they put salt in it, and that's kind of weird. I'm not sure if I like that. But to go back to that existential problem, Heidegger said that there's an awkwardness. Sartre also said this. There's an to exist, to be. There's an awkward state. Design has a certain everydayness, but also an awkwardness about it. And I think to go outside of them, to exist, to be with a world that is like this, you know, especially, you know, in the 40s, especially now, you know, especially any day ever in history, to exist at all is weird. It's awkward. It's fucked up. And again, to bring up Camus, I bring him up a lot with the whole Sisyphus thing, rolling that fucking boulder up the hill to only go back down again, and this constant struggle. I feel like, for one, there's a constant struggle to maintain yourself, to live, to make enough money to exist, you know, happily, at least somewhat happily to live, to be in some sort of a happy state while you're not purposely acting that way. Holy shit, a gamma ray burst? I've never heard of that. I mean, yeah, it's very, very annoying. I didn't see your comment entirely because it kind of fades away. But I don't know. I mean, it's just this whole thing. I mean, and that's kind of because of this whole existential issue. And I'm not saying that my life is just like the worst, because there are people fucking starving out there, and who have Ebola and AIDS and all that stuff. There's stuff out there that would make my toes crawl about how people exist and what people have to go through. But there's still a general awkwardness about living in a world like this, where it's like everyone looks out for, as Cat Williams would say, your star player. Everyone looks out for number one, themselves. It's just a difficult thing, and I feel like things are going more in that direction. At some point, you have to become determinate Chinaman. Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, sometimes when you look at this world and you look at other people and you look at people in general as a whole, we look like hell. We look like we look like hell. I mean, it's just, I can't. I mean, like I said before in this stream, I'm not the greatest person in the world. I'm not saying I'm. Hello, Cocknailist. It's kind of to think about. I mean, like I said, I'm not the greatest person. I have my issues with being a bad person too. But eternal possibility becomes actualized. Yes. Ugh. And to think about that whole gamma ray burst. And I mean, I'm not sure if I'd be for that, but I definitely am an antinatalist just because of how fucked up this whole world is. Because I don't know about time before I was alive. For most people, there's a few people that I found that are good people that I really, really like. have good friends and I have good family and such, for sure. Steppenwolf. No, I have not. I have not read Steppenwolf, but I would definitely like to. Um, but it's kind of like I don't want to bring somebody into this world where that person would have to possibly go through various things. What is? I mean, I've heard of him. I've heard of Steppenwolf, but I can't remember exactly what that was entirely about. Um, I have a lot of books that I don't know entirely. I don't know all what I have because I have so many. So I have that little problem, which is kind of a good problem to have, just because books are awesome. But it's kind of an issue just because I might have it, I just haven't gotten to it. About 80% of my books I've read, but there's still a good 20% that I haven't, gotten into. But I mean, just the state of this world and the future of it is very grim. So that's kind of why I would not want to bring a person into this world, because everyone is, well, most. Herman Hesse. I do have Siddhartha, and I read that a while ago. Okay. So yeah, I should have known that. Yeah. I don't think I have that book, but I do have Siddhartha. Our God Emperor will fix all of our problems. Even as somebody who does have belief in a God, I laugh at that. I know you're being like sarcastic, but that's funny. I do think that some people like think of God that way, like Christians even think of God that way, as just this God Emperor who will fix everything, make everything perfect, which is entirely not the point of the Bible anyway. The Bible is not about making everything perfect. But none of what I'm saying is really concrete or anything. Praying to fix their impotence. I would say if they are impotent, I would say good for them, because they won't be bringing any more people into this world who will experience horribleness. So, magical spells, yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I've kind of, seen how, yeah, that's, I'm laughing at that, like, just because I mean, if I was impotent, but still had like full use of like everything that I like of if I was impotent but still had full use of everything, well, I guess impotent means you can't get it up. I'm guessing sterility means you can still get it up, but you can't produce. Am I right? Impotence is, I would never, want to have that. But sterility is not bad. It means you can have all the fun you want and not ever possibly bring a child into this world. Sterility means no, yeah, it means no bullets in the chamber, right? But then impotence is where you can't get it up to do, means where you can't get it up to do anything, right? See, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I'm saying impotence is bad. That's why I the poor guys with the impotence, I hope that they do get their I pray that they figure that shit out, but they don't produce any people. They were the pencil is Slinky. God damn. Yeah, sterility is the way to go. Sterility is what you want if you want to have all the fun, but none of the issues, unless you fuck a hooker and you get crabs or something. That's the issue. Ugh, man. I've gotten off track in this stream. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, yeah, that scares me. When I was when I was 17, I think when I was 16 or 17, I wanted to go find a hooker. What the fuck was I thinking? All I had to do was like wait one more year or so. But goddamn, this stream really got off track. What the fuck was I saying? Slinky. But a pencil is slinky. God, I'm probably not gonna have another coherent thought now. So, thank you for that, continualist. God, no, you're good. I'm dying right now. Thank you. There's so many Thailand YouTube videos. What are they making videos of in Thailand? But I don't know. But I don't know. I just feel like that this world is just fucked. It's gonna get even more fucked somehow. I'm not sure why. First of all, we have a president who is using our taxes to play golf. But maybe that's good because maybe he's too stupid and any legislation he signed would be garbage and would fuck everyone over. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's good that we're paying him to play fucking golf and sit in his office. Another thing the Young Turks posted, they did a video of how it was called "Look How Hard I'm Working, America," and they did a photo op of Trump with him sitting in the Oval Office with nothing on his desk, with a cap on, like a baseball cap, and he had nothing on his desk. They did a photo op to show that he's working, because Chuck Schumer apparently went into the White House looking for Trump to discuss things with him, couldn't fucking find him, so the White House does a photo op. And he's not working. He's not working at all. So, I don't know. Thank God Oprah doesn't want to run for president, because that'd be another fucking disaster. But personally, I liked Obama because Obama, I think, pretty sure, gave a few fucks about people in general, where Trump doesn't. And that's great because our president gives no fucks about people. President has so much money and takes the money of the taxpayers. Do I want to have a revolution? I don't know what that would entirely achieve, because I guess I'm gonna have to agree with Marx that you have to do a lot of revolution before anything ever changes. But a full-on revolution in the way of, I'm going to bring up a little bit of history here. The white male-dominated 50s. Oh my god. What a fucking idiot. An asshole. God. I hate Trump so much. Ugh. And I hate Trump mainly because... mainly because not only does he not do shit, but he gives no fucks. Aryan superpower. Fucking... Oh my god. The Aryan superpower with the whole Volkswagen gassing human beings. Oh my god. I know they're probably not connected, but oh my fucking god. Shit. What the fuck? What the fuck is this world that we're living in, people? What the fuck is happening? Oh my god. Ugh. Back to the idea of a revolution. No gas chambers. Oh my god. No gas chambers. Ugh. But I mean, I don't know. This is official car of the Third Reich. The VW Beetle, the official car of the Third Reich. Ugh. Ugh. My God. This is awful. I think I'm gonna move to Finland, I think. Hugo Boss official clothes. I mean, I think Trump might be the start of the idiocracy. Mussolini, oh my god. Guy who pounds his fist on the podium and yells, ugh. God. What if history, like, I don't know that they always say that history repeats itself. That's definite truth. That history does repeat itself, but not always in the most specific way. Like, we're kind of in right now. We're in another Cold War with like Russia because the king got out. The whole thing with Russia in the 50s, like in the 50s and 60s, and 70s, I think it was too. The whole thing was that we were always worried about the whole thing was a fear of communism, fear of them bombing us, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the whole Bay of Pigs thing. That was like a big chapter of history was the Cold War, and I feel like we're kind of in another one here with North Korea and some of those other countries like Pakistan and China a little bit too, because China is kind of a big deal too. Yeah, and like I feel like we're in another one, but I really hope that history does not repeat itself in the way of another World War II, where we have another Third Reich, but in this case, supported by Volkswagen, and the Volkswagen Beetle being the car of the Third Reich. I hope that history repeating itself is not that specific, in that we have gas chambers again, we have concentration camps again. I really hope that is not that specific. Yeah, definitely they were not resolved. With World War I through World War II and the Cold War, like the issues were not resolved there. I mean, we have constant like festering issues like throughout that whole period of time of decades. Oh my god. And I mean, it's just like, why do I keep living in gas chambers? Because there was a story about it, well, they didn't, Volkswagen did something like that, where they like would put humans and monkeys, but they did monkeys and they did humans also, but they did like a nitrogen dioxide, and they did other experiments with different gases, not the same gases as the World War II Germany did back in the 40s, but like they did gas chamber, like, well, they did gas experiments on humans, which was bad. I think it was still bad, even though they weren't the same. Has it? Is there an article that shows that it was disproven, like on a major site where like that shows that it was definitively disproven? I mean, I saw it today, and I read the article. I mean, but if it was disproven, and it's on like a major site, then. I mean, if it's on like a small site that isn't like a really really well known site, then I'm not sure I will believe that. Um, but I'll believe it when if I saw like official like evidence of it being disproven. But they showed a video of a guy showing that they didn't do it right. They had the wrong optics for it off and stuff. .com, I don't know. But I mean, they had one of the people of Volkswagen like saying about how they had the optics for it off or something, but they had like people admitting that it happened. But I don't know if there's a site that has a article about that, then I'll definitely I'll definitely look at that if that is somewhere. But I don't know. I feel like that even still, even if that was disproven, my whole point is this world is fucked up. Series of over 40 books, but this is like new. This is like brand new news though. This is like was over the last week or so that it like came out. But I don't know. My whole point is just the world is fucked up. The world is fucked, and nobody really gives a shit about much of anybody else. Um, it's propaganda. Well, I'll have to look into that, and maybe if I find something, then I'll do a video about it. But I don't know. I'll have to look into as to whether as to see if I'll have to look it up and see if it is disproven that Volkswagen did that. And if it is, I will probably do a video talking about it maybe. But I've only read a couple of articles saying that it did happen, with video of Volkswagen officials talking about it and how they had certain parameters of it being off. But I'm not sure. Maybe you're right. But I mean, all I'm saying is that us as people, I think, should, and I hate the phrase stick together, but I feel like it should be there should be more of a state of empathy in this world and in society, where we give a fuck about others more than we do. And I need to work on that as well, because like I said, I shut people out. I mean, I don't always, I'm not always the greatest person either. Empathy takes intelligence. You're right. So if we don't have intelligence, we won't have empathy. Interesting. It does make sense. Because if they don't have enough intelligence to outside themselves, then they won't. You're right. You're totally right about that. You have to have some level of common sense and intelligence to go outside this of what you are. Husserl called it the sphere of originality, or in German the Originalsphäre, where there's everything that is owned, everything that is what you everything that is owned, everything that is similar to you, everything that is owned, everything that is mine. And it takes a good amount to notice that in yourself being a monad, noticing a similar reflection of that monad in others. So it will take a good amount. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are not intelligent. There are a good handful of us who are, but the masses aren't. And it wasn't always like that. I don't think. I feel like that there used to be more intelligent people. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like maybe that if this world goes in either direction, like I said, either towards a full idiocracy, where the world is still intact but run by fucking morons, and like it kind of is now because of Trump, or it'll go in the way of the way things are if you play Fallout 4, where everything is blown up, everything is destroyed. Dysgenics. Yeah, I mean, I feel like when things go in one of those directions, something that will save the world is the handful of us that are intelligent and do have some level of empathy and can bind together in some way that will save humanity in some way or another. But and I should probably think about that a little more, because there's something that I thought about a while ago that I've thought about a lot since, called intermonadic empathy, and this is philosophy from Edmund Husserl and Werner Marx, not Karl Marx, but Werner Marx, who was sort of a Heideggerian and Husserlian philosopher, who said that, well, Husserl first said that we take the leap from our sphere of originality to others by noticing that I am myself a monad and seeing that same reflection of myself in others. And Werner Marx put it more clearly, or more, I guess I don't know how to put it, but he put it in a more clear way by saying that we find commonality in others via mortality. That we are people, we are expendable, we are mortal, and we find commonality in others, and that's how we have empathy. And empathy was and is a Husserlian concept. And that's I had a book project a long time ago based on that theory, that empathy comes from noticing something of commonality in others. Empathy being putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, basically, in a basically common layman terms. Empathy being seeing things from someone else's perspective, and feeling what they feel, and thinking what they think. And I think empathy would be the building blocks of a new society and a new world, which obviously in centuries and millennia would become another state where what that society was founded on again dissolves, and we kind of have this cycling back and forth until somebody has that uses that gamma ray, or whatever you said before, that gamma ray, and fucking just destroys the whole world, if that ever happened. But I feel like that if and when things go down the shitter fully, to where we have a full-on idiocracy of where no one gives a shit about themselves, but about anyone but themselves. Gamma ray bursts, thank you. When the stars died, they gave out gamma ray bursts. Um, I feel like, I mean, I don't know if I would be for someone doing that, because someone could easily do this. This world could be wiped off the face of existence in a matter of seconds, and no one's gonna do that probably. I mean, unless antinatalists take over the world or whatever. But until and if that happens, I feel like a new world, a new society could be based off of. Pakistan might do it. Holy fuck. God damn. I don't know. That shit scares me. If no one does that, I mean, it would be this a new society could be founded on empathy. But I don't know. Those are kind of that's kind of my fucking ramblings for today. So sorry about the long stream, and thank you for your super chat comments, and hope you guys have a good night.